Introduction. The person you've been waiting to become. There is a version of you that you haven't fully met yet. Not because it doesn't exist, but because you've spent most of your life becoming someone else. The life you learned to live. From the moment you began to understand the world, you were taught how to be. You learned what is right and wrong, what is acceptable and unacceptable, how to behave, speak, and respond. You learned how to fit in, be liked, avoid rejection. And without realizing it, you started building a version of yourself based on expectations, approval, fear. The quiet shift. At first, it felt normal, even necessary, but over time, something changed. You may have started to feel disconnected from yourself, unsure about your decisions, lost without knowing why. You might have asked, why don't I feel like myself? Why does something feel missing? The answer is not always obvious, but it is simple. You have become someone you learned to be, not necessarily someone you chose to be. The hidden distance. There is a distance between who you are and who you are living as. That distance creates confusion, dissatisfaction, inner conflict. You may look like you have everything together, but inside, something feels incomplete. What it means to own you. To own yourself is not about being perfect. It is not about controlling everything. It is about understanding who you are, accepting what you feel, taking responsibility for your life, living in alignment with your truth. It means no more hiding, no more pretending, no more living only to meet expectations. It means becoming real. Why this journey is difficult. Owning yourself requires something many people avoid: honesty. Honesty about your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns, your fears. It requires you to face the parts of you you ignore, the habits you repeat, the beliefs you never questioned. And that is uncomfortable. The cost of avoiding yourself. You can avoid this journey. Many people do. You can stay comfortable, keep following patterns, continue living on autopilot. But there is a cost. You may gain comfort, but you lose clarity, direction, authenticity. And most importantly, you lose yourself. This book is not about changing you. This book is not here to turn you into someone new. It is here to help you remove what is not truly you, understand what drives you, reconnect with who you are. Because the truth is, you don't need to become someone else. You need to uncover who you already are. The path ahead. This journey will take you through awareness, identity, acceptance, responsibility, transformation. You will question your thoughts, understand your emotions, break your patterns, rebuild your relationship with yourself. A different way to live. Imagine a life where you trust yourself, you understand your reactions, you make decisions with clarity, you feel aligned with who you are. That life is not far away. It begins with one decision: to stop running from yourself and start understanding yourself. Awareness, seeing yourself clearly. There are two ways to live. The first is the most common. You wake up, you go through your day, you react to what happens. You feel things, but you don't question them. You make decisions, but you don't always understand why. At the end of the day, life feels full, but unclear. You are doing things, but you are not fully aware of them. The second way is different. You still wake up, you still go through your day, but something has changed. You notice your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your patterns. You begin to ask, why did I feel that? Why did I react like this? This is awareness, and it changes everything. Most people live on autopilot. Autopilot means repeating habits without thinking, reacting emotionally without awareness, following routines without intention. You may think you are in control, but in reality, you are repeating patterns. Example of autopilot. Someone criticizes you, right pointing arrow, you feel angry, right pointing arrow, you react defensively. You don't pause. You don't question. It just happens. Autopilot is comfortable, but it has a cost. It keeps you stuck in the same reactions, repeating the same mistakes, living without real direction. Awareness usually begins with a moment. Not always dramatic, but noticeable. It may come after a failure, after a difficult conversation, after feeling lost, after asking yourself, is this really me? That moment creates a crack, a space where you begin to see things differently. You start noticing Your reactions feel automatic, your emotions feel overwhelming, your choices feel unclear. And you realize, I don't fully understand myself. That realization is not weakness. It is the beginning of growth. Inside you, there are two parts. 1. The experiencer, the part that thinks, feels, reacts. 2. The observer, the part that notices, watches, reflects. Most people live only as the experiencer. They feel anger, and become anger. They feel fear, and become fear. But awareness begins when you activate the observer. Example, instead of, I'm angry, you say, I notice that I'm feeling angry. That small shift creates distance. And distance creates control. At first, awareness is not peaceful. It is uncomfortable, because you start seeing things you ignored. Your habits, your patterns, your fears, your insecurities. You may realize, you avoid responsibility, you seek validation, you react emotionally, you repeat unhealthy behaviors. Most people stop here, because it feels easier to go back to autopilot. But if you continue, awareness becomes power. True awareness requires honesty, not harsh judgment, not denial, just honest observation. Instead of saying, I'm a bad person, say, I reacted emotionally in that situation. Instead of, I always fail, say, I didn't prepare enough this time. Honesty gives clarity, and clarity creates change. Awareness is not only about thoughts, it is also about emotions. Many people feel emotions, but don't understand them. Start noticing. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? What triggered it? Example, you feel irritated. Instead of reacting, ask, what caused this? You may realize, you are tired. You feel unappreciated, something earlier affected you. This changes your reaction completely. Awareness gives you something powerful. The pause between stimulus and reaction, thought and action. There is a moment, a small space. In that space, you can choose. Instead of reacting immediately, pause, breathe, observe, then respond. This is the difference between unconscious reaction, conscious action. As your awareness grows, you start seeing patterns. Patterns in relationships, emotions, decisions, behavior. You may notice, you avoid difficult conversations, you overthink everything, you seek approval, you repeat the same mistakes. Patterns are not random, they are learned, and once you see them, you can change them. Without awareness, you believe, this is just who I am. With awareness, you realize, this is something I learned. This is powerful, because if something is learned, it can be changed. Awareness grows through practice. Practice 1. The daily check-in. 3 times a day, ask, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? Why? Practice 2. The pause. Before reacting, take 1 breath. Practice 3. The reflection. At night, ask, what did I notice about myself today? What patterns appeared? When awareness becomes part of your life, you begin to understand yourself deeply, control your reactions, make intentional decisions, feel more grounded. You stop living randomly, you start living consciously. Identity. Who are you without the world? There is a question that seems simple, but very few people can truly answer it. Who are you? Not your name, not your job, not your role in society. You. Strip away your achievements, your expectations, your labels. What remains? For many people, silence. The truth is, most people did not consciously create who they are. They inherited it from family, culture, school, society. You were told how to behave, what success looks like, what is acceptable, what is not, and slowly, you built your identity based on approval, fear, adaptation. Example, if you were praised for being the smart one, you built your identity around intelligence. If you were criticized often, you may have built an identity of not being enough. You didn't choose this consciously. You learned it. To survive socially, you created a version of yourself. A version that fits in, avoids rejection, meets expectations. This version is your mask. The mask can look like the strong one, who never shows weakness, the nice one, who avoids conflict, the perfect one, who fears mistakes, the quiet one, who hides their voice. At first, the mask protects you. But over time, you forget it's a mask. You start believing, this is who I am. Living through a mask has consequences. You may feel disconnected from yourself, exhausted from pretending, unsure of what you really want, afraid to be fully seen. You may succeed externally, but internally, something feels missing. Because you are living as who you learned to be, not who you truly are. When your true self and your learned identity don't align, you experience conflict. You may feel, this doesn't feel right. I'm not being myself. Something is off. This creates tension between who you are, who you think you should be. And this tension shows up as anxiety, overthinking, indecision. Even when you realize your identity is not fully yours, letting go is hard, because your identity feels like safety, familiarity, control. You may fear rejection, judgment, losing approval, being misunderstood. So you stay in what is known, even if it doesn't feel real. Here is a powerful truth. Your identity is not permanent. It is shaped, influenced, changeable. You are not just shy, just anxious, just not confident. These are patterns, not your essence. To own yourself, you must rediscover who you are, not by adding more, but by removing what is not you. Start asking, what do I truly enjoy? What feels natural to me? What do I believe without influence? What do I want if no one judged me? These questions are uncomfortable, but they lead to truth. Think of identity as layers. Layer 1, external identity, name, job roles. Layer 2, social identity, how others see you, expectations, labels. Layer 3, psychological identity, beliefs, fears, patterns. Layer 4, core self, your authentic nature, your values, your truth. Most people live in the first two layers. Growth happens when you reach the deeper ones. Your true identity is built on your values. Values are what matters to you, what guides your decisions, what gives your life meaning. Examples: honesty, growth, freedom, connection. When you live aligned with your values, you feel authentic, you feel grounded, you feel clear. Acceptance, healing your relationship with yourself. Many people are not at peace, not because of the world around them, but because of the war inside them. A quiet, constant conflict between who they are and who they think they should be. You may recognize this. You criticize yourself for your flaws. You reject your emotions. You compare yourself to others. You feel like you are not enough. This creates tension, a feeling that you must fix yourself, change yourself, become someone better. But here is the truth. You cannot build a strong version of yourself while constantly fighting yourself. Acceptance is often misunderstood. It does not mean giving up, staying the same, ignoring your problems. Acceptance means seeing yourself clearly, acknowledging what is real, allowing yourself to exist without constant judgment. It is the ability to say, this is where I am right now, without shame, without resistance. Self-rejection comes from many places. You may reject parts of yourself because you were criticized for them. You were taught they are wrong. You compare yourself to others, you fear being judged. So you begin to hide your emotions, your thoughts, your true personality. You don't just hide from others, you hide from yourself. When you reject yourself, you create disconnection. You may feel emotionally exhausted, mentally overwhelmed, unsure of who you are. You might try to improve yourself constantly, but nothing feels enough, because deep inside, you are saying, who I am is not acceptable. Healing begins with one powerful shift, from judgment to understanding. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, why do I feel this way? This question changes everything. It opens the door to compassion, clarity, healing. Many people try to control or suppress emotions. They think, I shouldn't feel this way. This emotion is wrong. But emotions are not enemies. They are signals. Each emotion carries meaning. Anger. Something feels unfair. Sadness. Something matters to you. Fear. Something feels uncertain. Anxiety. Something feels important. Acceptance means allowing yourself to feel without immediately judging or suppressing. One of the hardest things to do is to sit with your emotions, without distraction, without escape. But this is where healing happens. Instead of scrolling, avoiding, reacting. Try sitting quietly, breathing, observing what you feel. At first, it feels uncomfortable. But over time, something changes. You realize emotions are temporary. They rise, and they fall. Your past is part of your story. But many people fight it. They think, I should have done better. I regret everything. This creates pain that never ends. Acceptance means acknowledging your past without reliving it endlessly. Say, I did what I could with what I knew at the time. This is not an excuse. It is honesty. You are not perfect, and you never will be. You have flaws, weaknesses, mistakes. And that is not a problem. It is reality. Acceptance means allowing yourself to be human. Instead of, I need to fix everything about me. Say, I can grow, but I don't need to hate myself. Self-compassion is the foundation of acceptance. It means treating yourself with kindness, patience, understanding. Imagine a friend comes to you with a mistake. Would you say, you're worthless? You'll never succeed. No, you would support them. Now ask yourself, why don't I treat myself the same way? Responsibility, ownership, control, and life direction. There comes a moment in life when you realize something uncomfortable. No one is coming to completely change your life for you. Not your family, not your friends, not luck, not perfect timing. At first, this realization can feel heavy, but hidden inside it is freedom. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to save your life, you begin to take ownership of it. Responsibility is often misunderstood. Many people hear the word and immediately think pressure, blame, guilt. But true responsibility is different. Responsibility means recognizing your power to respond, acknowledging your role in your own life, making conscious choices instead of unconscious reactions. Responsibility is not punishment, it is power. This distinction is important. Blame says, everything is my fault. Responsibility says, this is my life, and I choose what to do next. Blame keeps you trapped in guilt. Responsibility moves you toward action. Example, situation. You failed an important opportunity. Blame, I'm useless. Responsibility, I need to improve my preparation and discipline. One destroys confidence, the other builds growth. Many people avoid responsibility without realizing it. Because avoiding responsibility feels comfortable. If everything is someone else's fault, society's fault, bad luck's fault, then you never have to change. But there is a hidden cost. You lose control, direction, personal power. You become reactive instead of intentional. A victim mentality says, life happens to me. Ownership says, life happens, but I choose how I respond. This does not mean bad things never happen. Pain is not real. People never hurt you. It means you refuse to let circumstances completely define your future. Here is an important truth. You cannot control everything. You cannot control other people, the past, unexpected events. But you can control your mindset, your actions, your response, your habits. Mature responsibility means focusing your energy on what is within your control. Every day, your life is shaped by choices. Some are big, most are small. The problem is, many people make choices unconsciously. They react automatically, emotionally, impulsively, habitually. Ownership begins when you ask, why am I choosing this? Suddenly, your life becomes intentional. Responsibility requires discipline, not harshness. Discipline. Discipline means doing what matters consistently even when you don't feel like it. Most people wait for motivation, but motivation is temporary. Responsibility says, I will act even when it's uncomfortable. People often think change requires massive action, but real transformation happens through small repeated actions. Small actions. Waking up earlier, keeping promises to yourself, speaking honestly, controlling reactions. Over time, these actions shape identity. One of the greatest forms of ownership is mental responsibility. You cannot always control thoughts that appear, but you can control which thoughts you feed, which beliefs you reinforce, how long you stay in negativity. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me? Is this belief limiting me? Your inner world shapes your outer life. Many people expect others to manage their emotions. But emotional maturity means taking responsibility for how you handle feelings. This does not mean suppressing emotions. It means understanding them, regulating them, expressing them consciously. Instead of, "You made me angry," say, "I felt angry because of how I interpreted the situation." This shift creates emotional power. Healthy relationships require ownership. Without responsibility, blame increases, communication breaks, resentment grows. Ownership sounds like, "I was wrong. I could have handled that better. I understand your perspective." This creates trust. Becoming, transformation, authenticity, and inner power. All growth leads to one question: who are you becoming? Not who you were, not who others expect you to be, but the person your daily choices are shaping. Every thought you repeat, every habit you practice, every decision you make, is building your future self. Whether consciously or unconsciously, most people focus only on goals, achievements, results. But true transformation is deeper. It is about identity. Many people want transformation overnight. They want immediate confidence, instant clarity, fast success. But real growth is gradual. It happens quietly, consistently, repeatedly. You don't suddenly wake up as a new person. You become that person, one decision at a time. There is always a gap, a space between your current self and your future self. That gap can feel frustrating, because you can see where you want to go, but not yet fully be there. This is normal. Growth requires transition, and transition feels uncomfortable. Transformation is not only about building new habits, it is also about resisting old patterns. Because your old identity will try to pull you back. You may hear thoughts like, "This isn't really you. You'll never change." Go back to what feels familiar. Why? Because familiarity feels safe, even when it limits you. Authenticity means living in alignment with who you truly are. Not performing, not pretending, not constantly seeking approval. Authenticity requires courage, because once you stop pretending, some people may not understand you anymore. But authenticity gives you something powerful: inner peace. Because you are no longer divided between who you are and who you pretend to be. Many people hide themselves. They silence their opinions, their creativity, their emotions, their personality. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they fear judgment. Transformation happens when you stop shrinking yourself to fit expectations. You begin to speak honestly, express openly, live truthfully. And that creates freedom. Confidence is misunderstood. People think confidence appears before action. But confidence comes after repeated action. You build confidence by facing discomfort, keeping promises to yourself, surviving difficult moments. Confidence is evidence. Evidence that I can handle life. As you grow, you begin asking deeper questions. Why am I here? What matters to me? What kind of life feels meaningful? Purpose is not always one grand mission. Sometimes purpose is growth, contribution, connection, becoming your best self. A meaningful life is not built by accident. It is built intentionally. Alignment happens when your actions, your values, your identity work together. When you are aligned, decisions feel clearer, life feels lighter, your energy feels focused. Misalignment creates confusion, exhaustion, inner conflict. Transformation means bringing your life into alignment with your truth. Mental strength is not pretending not to feel pain, suppressing emotions, acting tough. Real strength is staying calm under pressure, continuing despite fear, recovering after setbacks. Strength grows through challenges, discipline, resilience. Every difficult moment can either weaken you or shape you. That all, folks. Hope you're enjoying it, and I'm going to see you next time. Have a nice day.